Hey everybody, welcome back to Around the Emirates podcast with Sara Mousa, where I speak to guests from across the UAE and the world about topics you want to hear about. Today I'm joined by the amazing Dr. Matt Delgado, all the way from Austin, Texas. Hi, Dr. Matt.
Hey Sarah, thanks so much for having me.
Thank you so much for being here. So, guys, Dr. Matt is awesome. He is a chiropractor. He has an amazing story to tell. I have so many questions. Please, Dr. Matt, tell me your story and we'll get you started.
Yeah, sure. I'm going to rewind us 10 years to when I first got diagnosed with Graves' disease. It was an autoimmune thyroid diagnosis for those that aren't familiar, where the body's attacking itself. And it came with a host of symptoms, but I think the most disruptive for me at the time were probably the fatigue, kind of pain throughout my body, brain fog, and just my hormones were so out of balance. I didn't really know which way was up. And I was right out of school, out of grad school at the time. So I had the image of health. I was 27 years old. I had literally, six-pack abs and was super fit, super healthy. So I thought. So it was not only the challenge, I think, health-wise, but the identity challenge also of who I thought I was, being a brand new chiropractor and the image of health. So I took about a year off from work to try to regain my health because the only option I was given was drugs or surgery. It was remove the thyroid and be on drugs for the rest of your life to replace the thyroid hormones. And I didn't want to do that. So I quit my job. I moved to the desert with family and I lived a really slow, simple life. I essentially put myself in the right conditions for my body to heal itself, which is something that I wasn't really familiar with at the time. And fast forward, years later, and I have a line for it. I didn't really realize it was treating my body more like a plant than a car, bringing it back to life.
I love that. And I love that that's your slogan on your Instagram as well. That's kind of one of the things that caught my eye when I invited you to do this interview. I was like, that's a really interesting way of kind of describing your health and your body. And it's such a relatable way that to think about it that we don't even consider as humans. And obviously you've talked a little bit about kind of being diagnosed with Graves' disease and the process that took you through. In the journey to kind of becoming a chiropractor, what kind of challenges did you face and how did you overcome them?
Um, so I'd shifted a little bit even to some challenges now. I know you asked about maybe challenges to becoming a chiropractor, but I'd bring it more to now, actually. I think present
Sure.
time would be maybe a bigger challenge, which is telling a story that's so different from what everyone else is telling. I think when we look around, we hear a story that the body keeps breaking down and that it's fragile. And there's so many different protocols or supplements or hacks to fix separate, isolated problems. And there's so many different specialists, whether they're natural healthcare specialists or whether they're traditional, like Western medicine specialists, that we've really lost sight of what's natural, which is the body is designed to heal, that we are self-healing, just like a plant, like what I had said. And to make that make more sense, if you had a plant in, let's say, your living room in front of the window and you were cleaning, you move it to the closet and you forget about it for a couple months, it's a little droopy and you want to bring it back to life, what would you do, Sarah? Serious question. What would you do?
I would bring it back to the sunlight. I would give it water. I would look up what different like kind of medication to give it.
Beautiful. No one's ever gotten that question wrong. Sunlight and water. You're the first person to say medication to give it. I've asked thousands of people. No one's ever said that answer. That's not a wrong answer. And thanks, yes, for, I put you on the spot there, but thousands of people, and the simple answer is the right answer. We know that this plant is designed to heal. It's a living system. And I think we've forgotten what's natural in the body. So I'd bring it back to your question saying my greatest challenge, I think, right now is telling this story because I think we've actually lost the belief that we are supposed to heal just like that plant rather than prop up all the branches and try to fix all the parts that look like they're broken and seemingly keep breaking down for no reason.
Why is it, do you feel like we disregard our health in that way? Why we don't necessarily prioritize healing the plant or giving ourselves the ingredients for the plant to heal, so to speak?
Yeah, I think there's a lot of factors at play. That's probably a really long answer. I might give one for people. Yeah, since I know our time is limited, I'd say that the stories, again, all around us, like the way things are marketed health wise, and at least in my country, in the US, the money that's spent on us, even let's even use something natural, because I can use the pharmaceutical industry. I can say that with drugs and the way things are marketed, just take this drug, it's a quick fix. I think that's one of the things right there is convenience. We do things quick for convenience, and there's a cost to that. There's implications of that. And there's a time and a place for medicine. I'm not saying there's anything wrong with it. But even with natural solutions like supplements, the US spends, I think it's like $6 billion a year on supplements. And most of them are designed to help supplement our health. And that's not where the magic is. Just like with the plant, the water, the sunlight, it's the conditions that bring it back to life. And so if people are looking for simple conditions, there's in my office, we name 4 conditions that uh, similar to a plant that bring us back to life. And I think they're pretty obvious to us. We tend to know them: sleep, stress management, movement, and then reducing toxins. And a big portion of that I name is nutrition or blood sugar.
Right.
Again,
Yeah.
ultra processed food. I could go on. I could go on.
No, fair enough. I think blood sugar is also like a massive problem, even in the UAE as well. Like generally,
Right.
like we love to eat. So I think that that's a big problem there. But I think kind of you're obviously kind of diving a little bit deeper into kind of your story and the different kind of learnings that people can take away from this episode. Is there any kind of moment that was, funny or surprising or really made a kind of impact on your life that you want to share?
Sure. Yeah. It's actually really related to this. I was teaching at a conference a couple years ago, and I started it with because I was teaching along the thread or the lines that we're talking about right now to chiropractors or soon to be chiropractors. So I wasn't sure that it would be well received because most of my profession is, I'd say, more traditionally looking at downstream problems, pain, muscle tightness. And those are real challenges. But if we're just forever, again, propping up the branches, what are we really doing long term if we're not talking about lifestyle? So I went into this conference and I knew I needed to have something to shake it up. So I brought a deck of cards with me. And when I was growing up, I loved magic tricks. So I actually started with a magic trick. And the way the trick goes, I had someone in front of me and I had this student and I had a whole group of students, like 20 or 30 right there. Pick a card, look at the card, memorize it, take a look. They've all 30 students memorized this card. They put it back in the deck, and then I cut the deck and I end up showing them one at a time a series of 4 cards, and each one, is this your card? No. Is this your card? No. Is this your card? No. And all the while I'm doing this, I show them a second time as well, even as, are you sure? Is this your card? No. Is this your card? Is this your card? And they look at me like they think I'm bombing the trick.
Hmm.
They're like, dude, you just showed us these 4 cards. You're showing us again. My card's not in there. And then at the end, I have the cards in their fist and I smack the cards out. And the one that's left in the fist is the original card that was their card. And all of a sudden, everyone's jaw like drops and hits the floor. And I think the point of that trick was that we're taught to look in the wrong place.
Hmm.
It's the sleight of hand, right? It's like there's something quiet happening in the background, but everyone's looking at the wrong place. And I think with health, what that is the diagnosis. Like mine was Graves, the fix for it, the supplements or the protocols for that one thing, but we're not really looking at the conditions around it the entire time that subtly lead to that one moment. And it ended up working brilliantly. It was really impactful. And it's something that, people could laugh about after, and it kind of shakes them up a little too.
I love that. And I really appreciate that you are able to kind of bring out your story in a way that's so relatable. It's not just, the big names in medicine and here's the, the trachea or the whatever fibula or whatever, the big names are. You make it relatable to them of like, oh, you didn't, you looked at this card, but you actually didn't think about the other card and how to get to that card. And it's, that's how your health works. And you didn't think about this, you could think about that. And it's just, it's so interesting how you break it down almost in a fun way and something that's actually so serious, but gets their attention nonetheless.
Yeah, yeah. And sometimes you gotta use a trick like that, to shake it up. And I think that's why a lot of people stay stuck in health is we're so focused on, I'd say, the wrong things, the wrong metrics, and we forgot the simplicity of it all along.
I appreciate that. And what is a word of advice that you want, the listeners to hear today, whether it's on a personal level or professional level, kind of what do you want to leave them with?
Yeah, if you're tired of trying, if you're tired of for most people that I see, it's the supplements and the protocols that they just feel tired. It's not even the money that they've wasted, but more so it's the time and the energy that's gone into it. And I think just remembering the body is designed to heal, just like the plant. We have the same magic within us. And it's simply those four conditions that I named that all tie back to one system, the central nervous system. And that's the root system, if you will, of the body. So focusing on the roots changes the leaves. And getting back to the basics. And it's the whole reason that I wrote the book that I did, Stepping Out of the Grave, How to Heal When You're Tired of Trying. It's out in October. And this is the whole essence of that book.
That is so cool. And my final question for you today, Dr. Matt, as a chiropractor, I know you mentioned kind of the four areas that people need to focus on and looking at your body more as a plant rather than a car, as you've said. Is there one thing that people, like a small step that people can do daily to avoid major health problems that you kind of see as a chiropractor?
Yeah. So those four things that I mentioned, sleep, stress, movement, toxins, but let's give one. And sleep tends to be one of the things that we can all, I mean, it's again easier said than done because there's a lot that goes into that. And if only we had an hour to talk about it, but
We can talk
uh,
about more. It's up to you.
most people have, they don't realize any less than 7 hours. We're required 7 hours, depending on who you talk to, 7.5. And most people aren't measuring health. So if you can measure it, you can manage it. I've got something on my hand here, and I don't obsess over data. Yeah, I think it's good to have just to orient us, to help us understand that we're not actually sleeping as many hours as what we are in bed,
Hmm.
uh, just to orient us. But I'd say that's a great starting place is 7 to 7.5 hours of sleep.
Does it
And
change with age
then,
groups, for example, or
sorry.
does that change depending on like the age group? Like if you're 60 plus, for example, versus like kind of 30 plus?
It changes. Kids need more. Keeping it very general. Even as we age, we still need that amount of sleep. So if we're talking about adults, then no, it doesn't change. We still need the same amount. And the hard part or the thing that most people come back with or the objection is, well, I do fine without that amount of sleep. I
Mm,
don't feel like I need that. And that's because, and I call it the curse of feeling fine. It's a blessing and a curse, and it's a testament to how adaptable we are. And we feel fine pretty much no matter what. If you would have asked me 2 months prior to my autoimmune diagnosis and like the biggest health blow up that I had in my life, I would have told you that I felt fine. And I think how we get there is just a slow shift. So the difference between 100% and 97% doesn't feel like much. So it's really hard to feel. And then, those 3% or degrees on repeat for years. And we slowly start to feel normal at that 60%. And because we're so adaptable and so brilliant at surviving as humans, we actually feel fine.
fair enough. I think we're all guilty of it. I think as adults, especially, we think, oh, well, have a night out. And if we're home by like, 1, 2, 3 a.m., it's fine. We'll bounce back in a couple of days. But actually, it's like, it really does hit you quickly, especially the older that you get. So I completely sympathize with that.
Yeah, and I think we kind of lose sight of the accumulation of it all, right? We think of the last week or the last couple days, but then after 20 years of those small little insults to our nervous system, we wonder why do I have this chronic tension that won't go away, or I feel tired and I need coffee a few times a day to even feel normal, or I'll sleep 8 hours and I don't feel energized.
Mm.
We blame our age and we blame genetics. The hormone issues, gosh, I think probably half of the young people that I care for in their 20s and 30s have significant hormone problems.
Oh, interesting.
And it all comes back to the same system. It's all tied to the same system that we're talking about, the central nervous system.
I see. Wow. Well, thank you so much, Dr. Matt, for taking me through this in such detail. I think we're all going to be much more careful with our sleep after hearing this episode. I appreciate you joining me so early in the morning in Austin, Texas, and I hope you have a great rest of your day.
Thank you. You as well.